Welcome to Call Your Hits, a Storm Riders Airsoft podcast. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and happy early holidays. As of this recording going live, it is December 17th, and we're so close to being off for the holiday season with our families, spending some time relaxing, recharging, ending the year in style.
We can taste it.
Yeah, and we're hoping to have a little bit of content for you over the holidays as well. I'm not sure what that's exactly going to look like, but stay tuned for that. Today, we're going to do a bit of a Q&A. It's been a while since we've had Pat on the show, and I figured it'd be a great chance for us to reconnect, answer some questions that have been bumping around on the internet, on the Discord.
I'm sorry I've not been around as much. I've missed you.
Before we dive in today, I want to just take a second to acknowledge the fact that we actually won the RGK Airsoft Award, the Random Guy Kevin Airsoft Award for Community Cultivator in 2025. It's a pretty insane thing. To be honest, I didn't really know much about the RGK Airsoft Awards until earlier this year when, the nomination period went up. And, it was just absolutely insane for us. And I mentioned this on the Discord. I think I mentioned it on the show, but to be mentioned in the same breath as, other really big airsoft names like Milsim West and AMS, not in the same category, surely, but just seeing our name along with their name on a list somewhere. Yeah, and to hear other people in the airsoft space talk about us while we were not present in a positive light. I mean, I don't know if people do it negatively, but in a positive way, to me has been a complete trip, right?
I mean, yeah, I think I probably actually consume more YouTube airsoft content than you do.
Because, probably.
It keeps me. It's one of the things that keeps me company while I'm marking research papers, which right at this time of year I do a lot of. And when people were like, "Hey, you guys were nominated for this," I was like, "What?" And it's cool because I'm super proud of the community that we've cultivated, right? And I know I don't talk as much on the Discord as probably I should, but I read it a lot. I get a lot of laughs out of it, and I'm really proud of the friendliness and welcoming nature of it, and how just enthusiastic and helpful people are. And people keep talking about food and making me hungry while I'm in a history class.
Yeah.
It's very mean, but I'm also super proud of what Phil's been doing with the Storm Riders Foreign Legion, and just the getting a pile of like-minded people to go play airsoft together and hang out and have fun is really, really cool.
Yeah, and creating a space, I think, where we acknowledge really full-throatedly that airsoft is for everyone and everyone is welcome. And you bring that energy to the table, and that's the community that we've built and grown. And I think what's really interesting is, we've done that here where we play airsoft in our local community, and we've been doing that for it's going to be just 20 years next year that we've been playing airsoft in St. John's, that I've been playing airsoft in St. John's.
Madness.
And the community on our Discord is an extension of that. And I think about all the cool airsoft things that have happened this year for me, whether it be Red Road, whether it be Operation Silent Resolve, which was done in partnership with Nomad Chris, who we met through our community, right? Whether it's playing airsoft in Belgium, that was essentially only possible because of the community. Of Tulin in Belgium himself, being able to support people coming, and then other people like Ben and Norcha coming from other parts of Europe, and Ambo, coming from Germany. That's only possible because of that community. And so I'm, as much as I'm proud of the content that we've created, and I love making this podcast, I think the community is sort of the real outcome of all of this. And
I kind of want to stress that it's not an outcome we expected or planned for, right? We started doing this because it was let's do some podcast episodes because we can't play airsoft and it's COVID, and it means we get to chat and hang out and talk about this thing we love. And so to be down the line winning awards and being more importantly than the award, I think being successful in creating a bunch of kinds of airsoft community and helping to in our own small way, I think shape a more welcoming airsoft community in a bunch of places. It's just like, how much do I love that we know all these like-minded people and that we know all these people who think that the sport needs to be about what we want it to be about and what we believe it should be about,
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning, and I've said this before, but like our podcast is still very small. Like we don't have a huge following, we don't have a huge audience. Like last week's episode, probably got like 100 views in the first like week or something like that, which in YouTube terms is not a lot. But because it's small, it allows us to make sure that we have the type of community that we want to have, because people who you immediately see what the community is about and how everyone is like-minded, not within reason, obviously. Like we have dissenting opinion and that's fine. But on the stuff that, that doesn't matter. But then as this grows, I think one of the things that I would be concerned about as this grows is sort of losing some of that, right? Like the Discord is pretty active, but imagine if it was twice the size,
Yeah,
right? Or 4 times the size, right?
I already can't keep up with it at all. And like,
yeah.
Not in an I dislike it or don't want to way, just in a like, but there are only so many hours in the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I would love for our podcast to be like the biggest airsoft podcast out there that everyone tuned into. But firstly, I don't think that's very realistic. But even if it were, like, I mean, I don't think we get to cultivate the kind of community that we have worked on in such a larger group as well, right? So we're very fortunate in many ways.
Definitely, like growing a community. And I mean, I think we've done it well, but I think we've done it very organically, right? Requires an amount of like curating who comes and goes.
Yeah.
And engaging with people. And like, like I've said already, I'm not as active on the Discord as I would like to be, should be, whatever. But like folks feel free to reach out to me, and it's cool when I get to, someone drops me a message and is like, hey Pat, just want to have a chat for a minute or whatever. And that's awesome. And that one-on-one conversations that we get to have is sort of one of the really appealing parts of the way the community is, that would definitely be less so if we had 100,000 people in our Discord. Independent of the fact that like it would be completely impossible for the actual Storm Riders to moderate that at all.
Yeah.
Like it's the award to me is sort of like, like, well done, Phil. He does all the work. I will always cop to the fact that like the only thing I do for this is, chat with people in the Discord in a friendly way, which is easy for me because I like talking to people, and, wander by and have a chat with my best friend. Like, this is a limited work endeavor for me.
I would say though, like, I don't think it's well done me. Like, I think it's well done you, the listener, and you, the community member, more than anything else. Because firstly, it's a community vote. So people voted and people voted for us. So that, thank you for doing that.
Totally.
But ultimately, I think the great thing about our community is that, everyone, to your point earlier, everyone does have that attitude. Everyone is upholding those values. Everyone is being welcoming. People are coming in with questions that, might be seen as newbie questions, and people in other places would be elitist. And we don't do that here. And people don't need to be told that. Like, people will self-police, right? So this award, yes, it has our name on it, but it's representative of everyone, like everyone in the Discord, whether, it's Matt or Flub or, like Todd or whomever, right? We're all contributing to creating that community space, right?
100%. But, I work in a profession where the people who are like doing work behind the scenes never get a pat on the head and a cookie. And like, you are the one week to week putting this together, and you are the one week to week, like, chatting with everyone and doing the editing, and it wouldn't be here without you. So you are going to take that and enjoy that.
Yes, I will take responsibility for making the podcast and doing all that stuff that brings everybody together, that made the community cultivator possible. So,
right, sure.
It's not me, it's you guys. Thank you. I agree with you, Pat. It's not me at all. It's everyone else. That's exactly what you said. I will hear nothing of it. That being said,
he knows, guys, like to all of our audience, he knows that I'm bigger than him and I know where he lives.
Yeah, but he's far away. I've got at least a half an hour before you get here.
He can outrun me anyway.
So I will say next year I'm really excited because the podcast category is coming, is being international next year.
Oh,
So
cool.
in the past, the podcast category, it was actually eliminated this year. And it was only US based. Next year, it's opened everywhere. There's some criteria which I don't think we'll have too much difficulty meeting. One of them is you have to do at least one episode a month. We definitely do that. We do all, once a week, basically all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And it has to be at least one out of, I don't remember how many episodes have to be without a special guest. Like it has to be about your show, which again, totally feasible.
Yeah.
So we will be eligible for that category. And again, I think we have a really fun show. I think we have something that is unique in sort of the positive space that we have in the airsoft scene. We would love for to be considered for that, and so I guess we'll see you again next year for that. Is
Hopefully.
my sort of my last
Yeah.
little bit about that. But now let's get to the meat of it. And I want to do a bit of a Q&A. It's a bit of a random bag of questions. Some that I've hauled off the Discord, some that I saw online that I thought were interesting, some that I just came up with. I think there's a fun one that I wanted to start out with because I actually don't know the answer to this question, so I'm curious to hear what your answer is. How many players can you set up / gear up for a game with the items you already have?
Ooh, that's tough. So if we discount other people's gear that's in my house currently,
Yes, just your stuff.
because so I've got 3 primaries. I'd need to get one of them in like fully working condition, and it's not, but I could do that, in a couple of days if I needed to. I'd say I could do it tonight if I needed to, but based on the amount of sleep I've had, I'd chop one of my thumbs off.
They give you 2. You're fine.
Yeah, it's true. I have a spare. But yeah, so I've got 3 primaries. I've got 2 secondaries. I have holsters for both secondaries. So yeah, and I should have sort of like vest like tolerable LBE for 3 people. One person might be like, here's a battle belt and some pouches, but like that's not actually a terrible way to run gear, as we've been establishing.
Yeah.
I definitely have 3 pairs of or 4 pairs of glasses, because it's just a thing I like. I've bought extra a couple of times over the years because I wanted people to be able to like bring guests to games, or like because we were running scenarios and we needed to have PPE for extras. I knew 4 of those actually. Batteries, gear, air, BBs, mags, like that's no problem. I've got, in terms of the sort of like quasi consumables, I've got loads of everything. So yeah, I can definitely put together like 3 folks with a primary and a pistol, 3 folks with primary and 2 of them with a pistol. So that'd be 1 LMG, 1 on the M27 and 1 on the 416, and then 2 pistols, probably for the IAR and the LMG, I guess,
Might have
based
to,
on like
yeah.
most of our sort of rules stuff, just to give
Now,
people
that
more
being
variety.
said, though, I'm going to challenge you on this. How many of those are run off air, and how many regs do you have?
Only 2, but I have 2 tanks and 2 regs. So.
Oh, I didn't know you had 2 regs. Oh,
Yeah,
so you learned something.
Not this summer, the summer before. I bought a second of the same reg that I use for my primary for the LMG, so that I would not have to futz about with air pressure between the 2.
Oh, gotcha. That's the same one that I run, right?
Unsure. Does yours have a purge valve?
Oh, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, so I've got the slightly bigger, same manufacturer, with a slightly bigger one that has a bolt that lets you depressure it before you take it off. So like, that's nice. I have 2 tanks, and I can hot swap the regs if I want to. So like, yeah, in practice, if I want to bring the LMG and the M27, have them both set up beforehand and just hot swap regulators whenever I want to switch guns, I can do that. Which didn't really work out this season, but like is definitely a thing I've done, and that's was worth the like $120. And also I can swap, just have two HPA guns running if I have 2 people who want to use those simultaneously. I think at this point, actually, the better question, and I know I do have one, so I can be sure of this, but the better question might have been, do I still have an AEG battery to run the 416?
That's a fair point.
um,
That was a concern. We went to Red Road. I wasn't sure if I had enough batteries, so I ended up having to buy one. Um, and we ended up
well,
buying more as we talked about. But yeah,
well, yeah, I mean, especially given, as you said on the podcast already, like you were playing in somewhat adverse conditions for battery life.
yeah,
And it's we have definitely done enough of that here to be fully aware of like, yeah, like two's okay, three or four would be better if it's super cold out. Like,
yeah. I think for me, my limiting factor would be the replicas. I really have just two replicas. I have my HPA and I have my AEG. The rest of it, I mean, I've
yeah, I
got
mean,
I don't know how many different load bearing equipment, whether it's the flick or my battle belt or the whatchamacallit, the microfight rig and my old D3CR
yeah.
clone
I'm like,
and
and full disclosure, like one of the LBE that I would have been using for three is the one that I borrowed from you and still haven't given back. So like,
right, yeah.
you're
But
definitely,
it's really two replicas is my limiting factor.
yeah, you're definitely
Yeah.
better kitted out there. And like, um, um, in in a couple only a couple of weeks, I will have gotten through this year without buying a new AEG, or other airsoft gun to spend money on, which has taken an amount of willpower.
That should have been on your bingo card.
Yeah, right. And now I'll put it on my bingo card for next year, and then I will fail utterly,
Yeah.
because that's how this goes. I'm still. I think it's hilariously, like, it's been a couple of months since I've actually sat down and recorded one of these with you, which we should do better about. I should do better about. It's really on my schedule. But I remember talking to you about the fact that there was a guy on the Canadian board selling a M4 with a 203 that's like exactly what I want for one of those that I'm like, I shouldn't buy this because I'll HPA it if I do. It's still
Hmm.
there. It's still for sale. He hasn't adjusted the price at all because I think he's not like motivated beyond just like wanting to sell it, but I'm not going to get lowballed. And every couple of weeks it pops up and I'm like, no, Pat, no.
Just wait until January.
Yeah. Wait until January and just put in the bingo card, buy a new gun. Yeah,
Mm,
that's a good idea,
yeah.
right? So yeah, haven't done that yet. And don't think I'm going to, because December is not a good time for me to be spending money on me, because I've spent too much money on other people.
Yeah.
As
Plus, they're going to be
is the
spending money on you shortly in like 10
well,
days.
I
So
mean, yeah, true, but like, I feel like people will. I don't feel like anyone's buying me an airsoft gun, but I don't feel
that's
like I have money to buy an airsoft gun after buying stuff for other people,
that's
and I'm
legit.
fine with that. Like, that's okay. So yeah, currently we're at 5 between us, which is pretty good. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're better than a fire team, and we've got what, like, that's three rifles, a DMR, and three rifles, a DMR, two grenade launchers, and a LMG between us. Like, that's okay.
That's good.
I can
Yeah.
roll with that.
We're gonna need that for all the visitors who come down for Silent
Man.
Resolve too.
Well, again, that's one of the cool things, right? Like, folks who are coming here, like, I'm almost certainly going to be helping you run that event rather than playing in it. Last I checked. And so, like, if you're coming up and we like you, then like we've got some gear, you
Yeah.
know.
That's
If you're coming up and we
if you
don't
don't
like
want
you,
to
weird.
yeah, if you don't want to travel with your gun, just let us know. We can figure something out. That's not a problem.
Yeah,
As a side note,
and all you have to do really is in January be like, Pat, you need a fourth gun.
yeah, get that M4 with the 203. You definitely
Oh
need
my
that.
god, it's so
Is
good.
there anything? So this was another question that I had, but I mean the timing is perfect for like. Is there anything on your list for airsoft for Santa slash like want to buy in the immediate future, like that you actually need or want?
So I definitely, like, based on this year, I'm like, one thing, I don't think I've updated my bingo card with this, but I did hit my goal games for the year,
Yeah,
which is really nice. So yeah, I feel like, based on like my games for the year, so I need to get the box mag fixed, which is probably on someone, like Pat says that again, somewhere on someone's bingo card for next year. You know, but like the tariffs and stuff have stabilized so that I can actually get that done. It just was sort
yeah.
of, I hit a point where I was like, well, even if I ship it out today, it's not going to be here until, like, I'm not going to use it until next season. So
Might as well wait.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. It took the rush out of it. So, exempting like that, which isn't really a Christmas gift thing or anything like that. when I do that, I'm kind of tempted to throw down the money for one of their box mag kits to go into one of the box mags I have, just to have two mags. Because that way, if one of them breaks, I still have a mag for my LMG.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's a frustration mitigator that I think I'm going to try to apply. And then, I would like to probably have two more of the Ace-Tech grenades that we were using in the 203s. I really like those. They work really well. Their maintenance levels super low, which is appreciated. I enjoyed using them a lot. I found it really easy to rip through 2 in a game, so like 4 is probably a good number.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do that, or when I get around to doing that, like I might see if I can pick up another of just the starter kit with the reloader, so that I have 2 reloaders as well. More so that when I lose one in the bushes or something, I'm not as mad.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that's mission critical. I was talking to you earlier this week about needing to get around to picking up some Flamingo launchable grenades and stuff. And you were saying that they were on saying that they're working on like a 2.0. So I'm like, chill on that.
Yeah.
Beyond that, like, no, like I feel pretty good about where my kit is at. I want, like I said, that M4, but definitely don't need it. It's just like, ooh, shiny. And like getting a little bit of like a nod to sort of like the airsoft cosplayer in Pat. And kit wise, like I really like all of the kit I use. I want a better battle belt, maybe. To like the one I have is not very nice. I was looking at some suspenders that are like my old, the ones we've had for a million years are great. Like they do the thing, but they've made a version with like a hook that hooks into molly.
Yeah.
And like that'd be better for setting up like a belt kit if I want to try to do that. And your success with it and a bunch of our other folks on the Discord success with it has been like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like that wouldn't be hard to do with what I own. Maybe I should check it out. I have a really good belt because I bought Cal sold me a Cobra belt that he used for work for a while.
Oh, I think it's the Bison, right?
Yeah. And like on a really positive note in terms of the bingo card stuff, I'm down like 30 pounds.
Awesome.
I haven't kept good track of the numbers, but like I'm down a shirt size and a half. And a couple inches on the belt. So like life is good in that regard. Like the fitness piece of it is doing okay. And so that doesn't really affect like what gear I need, but it makes some of the pieces I have that I was like, oh, maybe I should replace this more comfortable and less in need of that. Right. So I need to pick up another Flamingo throwable grenade because I gave mine to one of our teammates for a game and he lost one of them. If you're listening, Noah, no, you're not paying for it. Like they're consumable, right? That's the reality of it. And it would be the reality of it if it were like a tornado and it was a more expensive grenade. Like, one of the things I kind of like about, not kind of, one of the things I just definitely like about the Flamingos is like, oh yeah, like at $60, it's like, I can live with it.
Yeah. It's interesting that you talk about consumables because my one of the hot takes I've sort of developed over like the last little while thinking about Christmas and airsoft, and I was thinking about like, oh, maybe we should do a podcast episode on like the top 10 best gift ideas for airsofters or something like clickbaity like that.
Oh, God. This just sounds like an excuse to get me to go look at airsoft stores.
But see, and here's my hot take: the best thing that you can get airsofters, in my opinion, is consumables. Because like, yeah, you can get like really cool blasters and you can get really cool gear and stuff. But unless I already know that you're looking at that particular piece of gear or that particular replica or whatever, or if you're the kind of person who like, and I know you do this, you do like this is my wish list for Christmas kind of thing, right? That's a different kettle of fish, as we say, right? Like, but if you're trying to organically get a gift for someone, being like, hey, I'm thinking about getting this person an airsoft gift. This looks cool. I'm going to get them for it. get them this gift for them. My take is you're better off almost invariably getting consumables for a variety of different reasons. It's the same sort of idea of like why socks are kind of like a good gift as you become an adult. It's kind of like everyone wants them, everyone needs them. Having a new pair is amazing, but nobody wants to buy them. It's kind of the same thing with BBs. Like BBs, I mean, yes, I need them, but I don't really want to buy them if I can avoid it, right?
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
throwable like pyro, right? Like especially here in Canada, it's expensive. But if someone is like, "Hey, I got you a gift. It's 6 tags, 67s," you're like, "Choo choo! Like this is
totally,
perfect. Like I love this, and I didn't have to buy it. Amazing,
totally. I mean, like the
right?"
BB thing really stands up, like partly because, um, like we spend like $100 a season ish on BBs.
Oh, way more than that for me.
Um,
But yes,
okay, I spend, you know,
yeah,
um, or like, yeah, 150 somewhere in there, on BBs, like, so if someone gives me $150 worth of BBs, not that anyone should do that, but like if someone gives me BBs, then that's, 20, 40, $80. I don't have to spend on that if I want to spend on airsoft, I can spend on other stuff.
yeah.
Right.
But I think more importantly, like if they're the right weight BBs for you, or if they're the right consumables and stuff, you are going to use them.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? They are going to be useful to you. Whereas if someone gets you a replica and it's not really your style, or someone gets you like a piece of gear that you're like, well, for example, you've gotten me pieces of gear for Christmas, but I mean, you know me well enough to know what I'm looking at, so that's fine. But the average person, it's like you might be rolling the dice on something
Yeah,
that
well,
the
I mean,
person is going to have to try and make work now or not use at all. Which,
we're
uh,
also we're also cheating, right? In the sense that we do stuff like this. So like, you know,
yeah,
um, if you we're like, oh, if someone in my life was like, oh, I want to buy Pat an airsoft replica, like you can literally point them at the one I currently am salivating over, right?
yeah,
Um, you know, um, for the most part though, yeah, like, I think there are a lot of people who, um, have a different take. Like we're both sort of at the I don't need more airsoft guns other than for fun.
hmm,
And I probably don't want to grow this into like a collection of 20 of them space. I think there are airsofters who will just be happy to get a new airsoft gun, because they're cool and they want to hang them on the wall, right? Like we have friends who are probably in that category.
yeah, like Steph.
Yeah, exactly. Um, that being said, like especially if we're looking at consumables and we're talking about like, so like BBs, but like, the throwable pyro, frankly, because I just said it and I still stand by, like the flamingo grenades aren't consumable in the sense that I want to lose a $60 one, but they are consumable in the sense that I probably am going to lose more of them over the next few years.
Yeah, or if you do, it's not a huge deal. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, I also sort of am like, yeah, I currently have one. I spent most of the season with two. There were games where I didn't throw any because I was using my M27 as a DMR. And then there were a bunch of games where I was using the M27 as a rifle, like at rifleman limits. And I definitely threw several, and it was like two is almost not enough. So yeah, I don't really feel like anyone's going to be like, oh, I have three of these and it's too many. I have three of these and someone gave me another one. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Like if I want to throw grenades at people when I'm playing airsoft, having more of them is not going to be a thing I view as a negative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, so
yeah,
I mean that's my take on it. Like I mean people are free to disagree if they want, but like I know for me, like if you get an airsofter like a reasonable weight of BBs like 0.3s or 2.8s at a minimum to 3.2s ideally, like you can't go wrong with that. Like that's gonna get used. It's a good gift. And it's not like it's necessarily very cheap. Like for us, like a bag of 3.2s is like 30 something dollars in
yeah.
Canada, right? So that's a pretty decent like stocking stuffer type of gift,
The
right?
more so
So
if you know people who play with them, right? Like, it would be very, very easy for anyone who knows anyone on our team to get the right weight of BBs for anyone on our team, because you just have to message any other person who we play with, right?
yeah, exactly right.
So, yeah, like it's a good idea. And like they're not that you want to necessarily put them in the stocking because they're kind of big, but like, if you're looking for like stocking stuffery stuff, BBs also not bad. Like,
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's look at a completely different question now.
and now for something different.
Yeah. So with typical games at like Milsim and stuff like that that you see or in a lot of different contexts, generally speaking, what you're seeing is two sides pitted against each other. We saw this at Red Row 3, and it's NATO versus Rust 4, right? For your money, what countries or factions would you like to see more of in the context of Milsims? And or do you think that makes sense?
So like honestly, in some ways, and like this is maybe the history teacher background, like I kind of like what we've done where we're just sort of like camo color made up faction that's not real,
Mm-hmm.
because it keeps some of the baggage out of that. Now, I mean, that being said, like I know people who are like, I really want to play whichever side because I view them as the good guys, the bad guys, whatever, or because I have their kit and I think it's badass.
Or I want
um
to do an impression of a
yeah,
particular unit or whatever. Yeah.
absolutely, right. In terms of stuff I'd specifically like to see, most of my gear will work for NATO stuff. I'd still love to get more Flectarn. So like I don't know, uh do a Milsim and have one faction be Bundeswehr and force me to buy things I want. Like,
Yeah.
um, this wish list is like, I guess a little silly for me in that sense, because I don't have a lot of serious answers. I feel like, um, picking specific real world forces beyond those ones is going to come with like potential problems for you, right?
One
You
thing
know,
that I've seen, and I talked, I think it was with Pick. I was talking about um, Maple Fury. I think was an op that he played at in this fictional scenario where the Americans Canadians were like actively engaged in conflict against each other, right? And like so, you're taking real world factions, but you're putting them in a context that, for lack of a better term, would be basically ridiculous. Like if you were to say like, okay, well this conflict is between like, I don't know, like Cuba and France, right? Or like you're picking these two countries that you're like, certainly not France and Vietnam, clearly, but like, like two countries that would never really have any reason to fight each other, or it's not a realistic sounding setup. Do you think that that makes it
yeah, I
better,
think
or
that'll
is the
I think
baggage
that'll
still
I think that'll
there?
bug me like or concern me less. Like the place that I think I go when I start thinking about it like concerning is like, I've definitely watched videos on YouTube of like GWAT themed games where like people are wandering around in, sort of like pretending to be Taliban or whatever, and like bought Middle Eastern stuff off of eBay, and it's that I don't know, that bugs me a little, or perturbs me a little. It's not really bugged, it's like, I don't know. I'm like, in the same context, like I'm not sure you want to have any given force versus the Chinese army in a real world, like, there's just real world stuff there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Canadian forces versus, you know, France, right? Yeah, that seems improbable. Sure, do it up. That makes me feel better about it. But I also think that mostly, like, you're doing this as an excuse, or most organizations that are running milsims are doing this as an excuse to pair off different looks of kit,
Yeah.
right? And so, if you're running an event that's big enough um, to do that, and you want to, call it NATO and Rust 4, sure. On this continent, that's almost certainly fine. If you are doing that same thing and you just want to call it Team M4 and Team AK, sure, man. Like, so I think some of the selection is sort of how much verisimilitude are we trying to create? Are we trying to use real world forces and real world stuff to create more of an RP Milsim kind of vibe? And
Hmm.
there it definitely bugs me less, or concerns me less. But at the same time, I'm still, I guess, concerned about like public perception too much, maybe. Um, you know, in the sense that like,
or like rogue players role playing too much, right? Or leaning
yeah,
into
yeah,
the
right. You know, like
a
we had a,
LARP a little too much.
yeah, you know, like, to riff off of this in like a wargaming direction for a second, if people will forgive, and they usually find this funny, so, or like at least engaging. You know, I play a game called Bolt Action, which is a World War II tabletop miniatures game, right? You know, inherently that has some problematic miniatures, right? Like, you know, there are, you know, you can play as the SS, right? Like you can feel that. And there's sort of a general sort of social acceptability thing of like, this much detail is okay, and any more than this isn't, right? So, you know, you want to have your little, you know, your SS guys, because you like playing the villains. There are people who like just like, yeah, I'm playing the bad guys, right? Like in the same way that like, if you look at Warhammer, there are people who are like, yeah, I'm playing this dude who's a demon. Right,
I was
fine.
going to say, if you're playing Warhammer, you're just playing Warhammer. Everyone's the bad guy.
Well,
Anyways,
fair.
I digress.
You're not wrong.
Except the orcs, maybe. Anyways, we're not having this conversation. But
Yeah.
move on.
But you know, I definitely don't want to play Bolt Action with the guy who is, you know, adding in the little red armbands and the swastikas.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, and like I have a friend who plays German Bundeswehr mostly in that game, who all of his officers are SS, who literally will look at his opponent and be like, so did you bring snipers to shoot at my SS officers? Right? Like he's here for, you know,
he's the demo soldier, right? He's like the person you're playing against, like you're the baddie, right?
Absolutely. And he's, you know, he's in it in like a good way, and there are ways to do it in a good way. But like if I went to a World War II airsoft game and one side were Germany, all right, fine. But if I see a guy walking around like in an SS uniform, I'm gonna be concerned. Like that would worry me, right?
Yeah. And like when I think about the context of airsoft specifically, it's like on the one hand, it's just very easy for you to take NATO and Rust 4 and just rebrand them other stuff, come up with a new name, a new whatever.
New
and
California
like
Republic.
we've done. Yeah, or even like just to do what we did, which is just come up with like a completely new faction, a complete different like name and all this kind of stuff. I think about Stag Ops. They have like made up countries and all this kind of stuff. Is it themed after real world stuff? Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the last one they were doing was like some sort of like Blood Diamond Africa kind of situation. But like none of that was real world. It was all made up. So it's easy to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like if you look at,
you can still do your like your not reenactment surely, but you can still do your impression kits and just roll up to these events if you want to. And on the Milsim side, like, yeah, if you want to keep the factions real world, that's fine. But if you're not simulating like a real conflict that's occurred, you're simulating a fictional conflict that has not occurred or will not occur or whatever in an area that you made up that matches the geography and topography of the place that you're playing at. So why just not take it a step further and go, yeah, it's a made up conflict in a made up place with made up factions, right? Like I don't understand why that last leap is so weird, but yeah.
I definitely feel like that. And like I think in the case of the NATO Rust 4 thing feels like a model that's specific to like some events in mostly I think the States to me, but my knowledge is not total here. It's just that's what I've
Ottawa was NATO versus Rust 4 as well, right?
Yeah.
Like Red Road 3.
And like in that context, it's probably fine. The personal note I was going to address is like, and I'm not going to get into the real world politics aspects of why people are clever enough to understand it. I'm sure not going to a Milsim event here, putting on Russian gear and having my name posted, my face posted with like Rust 4 stuff on social media, because I have students who will ask me really genuinely legitimate and unpleasant questions about that.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think it's always a you know, like a tightrope to sort of to walk on. We've had this discussion on the Discord as well around like, you know, like you were just saying, like reenactment and all this kind of stuff. But I feel like, you know, if you're just going to run Rust for NATO, like you can do it in a silly way, and sort of that's what Red Road was like. I mean, nobody's taking that seriously.
Oh yeah, like, and I think
like,
I think it's
fine.
completely achievable to do it in a reasonable fashion. Like my comment there was a personal note entirely, right? You know, and I'm like fully willing to cop to the fact that, you know, a big chunk of the reason I want that M4 is that I have watched Generation Kill too many times, and that like, you know, I know we're going to be doing stuff where I need tan team camo in the future, and the idea of like I'm probably not going to change my plate carrier or my LBE because I like it too much, and it's expensive. But like the idea of rocking that in the chalky chip is kind of appealing, right?
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a different question now. But I
For
mean,
sure.
it's still tied into event running. But I'm curious if you had to run like an event and specifically you want to make it feel spooky or scary,
Mhm.
right? How would you go about doing that? And the reason I ask this question is because I feel like in a lot of cases, the the suspension of disbelief is hard to achieve in many ways in airsoft, mostly because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, people don't tend to die, right?
Totally.
So every now and then, but like so as a consequence, like the fear that you experience, like the fear for your life, is just not present, right? And so what I found in a lot of our games, especially the ones that are at frontline around the village and all this kind of stuff, eventually they veer, even if it's serious, they veer towards the silly before they necessarily veer towards like the spooky or scary or anything like that. So, how, again, I asked the question, how do you think we could make an event feel spooky or scary?
So I have more than one answer to that, and I think my answer to that requires addressing a couple of things. So like fully, one of the reasons our stuff tends to veer towards the silly is that we are none of us are actors. Our people portraying villager roles and stuff are um, goofballs. They're our friends, right? They're the kind of people we hang out with. So like if you go,
Mm-hmm.
hey Pat, I want you to play this role seriously at a Milsim, I'll do my best, but I suck at not cracking a smile, right? Like um so I think that aspect is um a limiting factor, although not one that's impossible to overcome without
No, but
hiring,
that does make sense. That is a
you
really
know,
fair point.
without
Very
hiring
fair
people,
point.
right?
Yeah.
But like, and I mean this with absolute love, and I know he would take it that way. But like, if you put Jeremy in a role playing situation in a role playing game at Frontline, like he's playing one of our villagers, he's going to do an awesome job, and he's going to be super invested, and he's going to love the hell out of it. But he's also going to be silly because that's how he approaches all of that, right? Because he's
Yeah.
having fun. Um, so and I wouldn't change that any more than, frankly, I would suggest that I'm capable of doing it a lot differently. Like I could probably manage to stay straight faced for the whole day and play it straighter than we have if we needed to or we decided to. But
Mm-hmm.
like it'd be challenging, um, and especially because we've never like made an effort to write parts for those roles beyond like giving people like a little, oh
Like
come
a
on,
cheat sheet or
yeah, like
whatever.
a little
Yeah.
cheat sheet or whatever with like just like a little note card with like 4 or 5, this is your goal, this is your name, this is your vibe, is the furthest we've gone. The other thing is that, like in terms of Frontline specifically, making a place you play every week that everyone knows super duper intimately, um scary is really really hard without changing conditions enormously. So you want to make Frontline like scarier, then we run the game at night, and that includes a whole bunch of new problems, and it creates a whole bunch of complications in terms of just like it's probably not actually the safest place to play the whole field on at night.
In the daylight,
Well, yeah,
let
right.
alone
you
let
know
alone the nighttime.
um I think you lean into like, yeah, no one dies, okay, so you lean into the um adrenaline changes how your brain works stuff, right? Like when you were getting shot at playing airsoft, you are mostly hitting the dirt as though someone were shooting at you, because it does kick the adrenaline response in, right?
Mm-hmm.
BB go ouchie. I don't think probably to the same extent as being shot at. Actually, I have never tested it, and I don't want to. But
Are you sure?
very,
Withdrawn.
but intensely. But so yeah, play in the dark. From our own experiences, some of the best games we played, like my favorite experiences playing airsoft, were just playing random weekends up at Redcliffe in the fog, because it changed the sound of everything, and it changed how far
Mm-hmm.
you could see, and it changed the feel. Um, in terms of like the fog is not controllable, the dark is. Um, if we were doing stuff at Frontline, um, because this sort of stuff does work. We've brought speakers out and played metal. We've brought speakers out, bring speakers out and play like genuinely low enough that it's not loud enough that people are noticing it as much as possible. Stuff that not spooky music, anxiety inducing music, right? Play stuff that's put in, like you can get free stuff that's put in videos, just this tense, right? If you want to play with that, if you alternately don't have any music, one of the most effective things in terms of increasing like the stress level of airsoft that I've seen is also, and like I would find this hard to do and do seriously, but that's again my personality and not a fault of the idea. But you see games where people are like, rather than getting hit, are like going, "Oh, I'm bleeding, help medic," and like really leaning into like yelling about that. If you want to further escalate things, like so take people outside of frontline, then put them in the dark, right? Dark place you don't know is going to intensify stuff. I think in terms of like raising the tension level, adding the loud pyro to our games has been huge, right? Like that's because no one gets used to it. We're not used to it yet. I don't think we're going to become used to it. It's just like, oh,
right? Yeah, it's like, always a shock. Yeah.
Like, and even when I'm playing as a staff member and I know you've gone to set it off, I'm still like, whoop, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there it is. So those help.
I was thinking about like one thing they do at Milsim West is you have to use game provided ammo, right? So like when you sign up, you get like you have your BBs and you can carry however much and all this kind of stuff. But what if you also limit how much ammo people have in a shitty way? Not being like, here is your allotment and that this is what you have for the event, but like, oh hey, by the way, you could only load, here's your baggie, there's 60 BBs in there. Enjoy. Right? And now you have to find the rest or scrounge for it or whatever, right?
I'm like, I think that's definitely gonna curve people, and I know this is a thing that you've been interested in like thinking about how to operate games. That curves people towards the stealth gameplay. It curves people towards the the early Fallout when you don't have enough ammo and don't have enough resources, rather than the late Fallout when I have all the bullets I want, versions of the gameplay. I think from a event organizer side, that's way more work. Not in a way that I would be willing to participate in, or that I don't think is cool, though. I think limiting like the Milsim games you guys have been to limit the amount of mags you can carry. They limit the amount of ammo you can carry. I think that's a very effective way of increasing tension. Because you specifically addressed spooky, I was sort of thinking in terms of like, how do we make this feel like Airsoft is, LARPing an action video game, right?
Yeah.
How do we make this instead feel like LARPing Resident Evil? So yeah, the more things we're doing to take people out of their comfort zone and not necessarily inflict physical discomfort, but inflict like unease, I think the more effective that's going to be. Which is part of why, like, yeah, so if Frontline's super familiar, like you're not as stressed, right? I can walk through no matter how many times I walk through the village with, a pistol in my hand or, a replica rifle in my hands. I, at this point, am pretty damn sure day, night, whatever, rain, shine, fog, where people are going to position themselves to try to jack me up.
Yeah.
If we go to the places that you guys have been working with, further out that I haven't been playing yet, because the fall has been busy, that like, okay, I mean, frankly, even if you go back up to Redcliffe, like the number of places for someone to be in Redcliffe to shoot me that I have no way of addressing comfortably other than seeing them move and shooting them first, is enormous. The number of places at most of Frontline is trivial. So increasing that level of tension and of stress, having actors who are acting seriously, and like leaning into the actors piece, right? I think having more actual acting folks would be difficult from our budget constraint point of view.
Yeah, certainly.
But like, I doubt buying a couple of like prop blood bags would be super hard. So like, changing it so that when Jeremy gets assassinated and it's, dusk and we're in half light and I shoot him and the round that I'm firing from my airsoft gun hits him in the shoulder and pops a blood bag and suddenly he's going on the ground going, ah, and he's got blood all over him. And we're not saying no duff. So everyone knows it's not real, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to change how that feels, right? That's going to change, especially if we've been serious up to this point. If we aren't, making light of whatever's going on in the village and are instead treating it with like greater seriousness. Um, I think again that works even better outside of Frontline because it's taking it again outside of a familiar context.
Yeah.
You know, um, but yeah, like there are
I
definitely ways to do it.
yeah. I'm gonna keep this video in my head because it's definitely self-serving. I think our bigger fall event, is gonna be at Redcliffe for sure.
Sick.
Tentative name is Operation Autumn Harvest, and I think that's probably the side I'm gonna try and lean into a little bit more to make it a little bit more tense and
I can definitely
like spooky. And
we can definitely discuss this
we'll
more
workshop
off
some
camera.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so last question. I want to close with the same type of conversation we were having at the beginning of this episode, which is so you have people in these airsoft communities around the world at various different levels. What are some of the key ways do you think that players can contribute to the growth of airsoft in their communities?
I think like my my biggest learning from doing this podcast and from like helping you grow our community and doing the same things locally is and sort of like contrary to how I've felt a lot is get out of your comfort zone, try stuff, volunteer to try stuff, propose stuff, and put in the work, right? Like if your airsoft community is a thing, if you want to see change in your airsoft community in a positive way, the best way to do it is to propose that change and show up.
Mm-hmm.
And like the stuff that you have achieved in the last year in terms of shaping where we seem to be going as a sport, as a hobby, locally, down to the idea of like us running a larger Milsim in a larger space and like people coming here to play. Like I'm inherently like with hobby stuff, I'm conservative about how much I think things like that are going to work. And I think that, is probably some factors of my psychological makeup, but like is also unhelpful.
Yeah.
I think,
But I think even more like smaller than that. Because yeah, they're definitely I would agree with you. And I do agree with you because that's what I'm doing. But I also have the benefit of, okay, I've been here a long time now. Right. And it's sort of for me, to use the vernacular, it's sort of a shit or get off the pot kind of moment, right? Like if nobody else is gonna do this, right? So it's gonna have to be, but I'm mostly thinking about
but you started it ages ago.
yeah, that's fair. But I guess my point is you're a member of the community who is, and I know it's kind of hard to put ourselves in that position because we haven't been in so long, but like you're just another one of the local players, right? You might not be on a team. You might have a couple of guys who you play with regularly, and you're looking at your airsoft community. You're like, I wish it were bigger, and I wish that I could do something about it. Like, how do you do that? Especially, and how do you navigate it? Especially considering that, depending on which communities you're in, there's likely already other people who are there longer than you, who or maybe who are doing exactly what you want to be doing already, right? How do you then jump into that?
And like, I think, in the way that local folks have here, right? Like talk to us, talk to the people who are doing, putting in the work, creating new stuff, changing things the way you want them to be changed. I know from like our experiences that, they'll probably prefer if you come to it with some humility. If you go, hey, why aren't you doing this? And they go, well, we've tried it and these are the problems. It'll go better for you. And for the conversation will go better if you're listening actively instead of being like, but I want it.
Mm-hmm.
But talk to people, engage with people, if a kid shows up for their first airsoft game and they're holding a rental and they walk up to us and go, man, I want to be part of the airsoft community. I want to contribute. I want to do work for this. I want this to grow. How can I do that? You know, boy, do we always have work for more hands, right? Like
Yeah.
in terms of planning, in terms of, showing up and carrying stuff around, in terms of putting up cardboard on buildings at front lines so they don't have windows so that we're changing the lines of sight. Just, it doesn't have to be huge stuff. It doesn't have to be expensive stuff. I think the things that, that you've been getting into in the last year are things that require more of a budget than we had 10 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that it's awesome that we are in a position to do that and play with that. And I fully accept that, like, brand new players especially are often not going to be, but like we've had folks join start playing in the last year who showed up with like full kit because they had the money to do that, who showed up with a rental, but show up, be a positive player, play games, right? Like, because everyone, I think, at some point has hit a point with airsoft where they're like, oh, but like it's on Saturday morning and I was out late and bed's comfy. I think I'm just going to stay here. And like that is an impetuous I have to resist, right? Like, because I by inclination, I'm a night owl. Like, I will stay up Friday night till like 3 a.m., 2 a.m. painting toy soldiers or hanging out with people or whatever, both. And then, wonder why my alarm goes off at 8 a.m. and I don't really want to play airsoft today. And a thing I genuinely adjusted this season, for that was just like, okay, so that's stupid. Like, if I'm saying I want to go play airsoft, I should go to bed at a reasonable time so that when I get up, have a coffee and go play airsoft, I'm best kind. But I know that's not like that one. I'm fully sure is not a unique to Pat problem, and like, I think pretty much everyone on our team has at some point shown up to an airsoft game and been like, all right, I've had 2 hours sleep and I'm still hungover, but I'm here. Fair enough. That is an
Couldn't
experience.
be me.
That is an experience. Or if you plan on playing airsoft on Saturday morning, actually go to bed, right? But just showing up, and like, when you show up to, and like this, I'll say this freely, like, we have enough hands for all of our games, right? Like all the games we played this year, we had enough staff. Concurrently, we had folks in the community walk up and be like, hey, you guys are doing stuff, can I help out? Right? Like, what can I lift, carry, drag, put, staple, whatever, right? That's huge. Having a bigger pool of volunteers who are willing to play villager roles, who are willing to do whatever we need is useful. So it's really just like, put yourself out there, and I know that can be hard fully, but just, hey guys, I'm interested in helping, what you got.
And I think that's the key point ultimately, is when we talk about contributing, well, what is contributing? Contributing is giving something, right? And so whatever it is that you have to give, your community can use it in some way. So for some people, contributing is, either resources, right? Like, we have people on our team, they're like, well, I don't know if I can make it to this event, but I can 3D print some stuff for you. Cool, right? Other people are like, I have no money, but I can give you my time. Great, right? I know that at our local field last year and the year before, people are like, how can I contribute to making the field better? Like doing a field cleanup, right? Like cutting down some trees or moving some rubble. All those are ways that you can contribute to your airsoft community, which then contributes to the growth. But the trick is, you have to actually follow through. And like Pat said it, like, you have to show up. And I mean show up, like literally show up, and also figuratively show up, right? And the thing is, it doesn't matter if you are just starting out or if you've been doing this for a really long time. You have the capability to show up and give something. If you can play airsoft, if you can come to the field and play airsoft, you can contribute in some way, in some shape or form. And that, I think, is the key. You don't necessarily have to be the leader who takes on organizing all this stuff. You can just play a small part, and that's just as important, right?
I mean,
I think,
like,
there's, just as a counterpoint, I've had lots of people tell me, it's like, hey, you should run this kind of event. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to. They're like, well, I'd really like to play one. Okay, you go ahead and organize it then,
Yeah,
right?
it's there's
On
a
the flip side, if they had been like, hey, I would really like for this type of event to be run, how can I help make that happen? Is a completely different conversation, right?
well, I mean, you look at, so Kirby, stepped in and went, okay, I want there to be airsoft events that Phil gets to play in, right?
Yep.
How can I do that? And like you worked with him and like I helped a bit, and I mean, talking about a thing that I think is huge, in terms of our stuff, just going, oh yeah, like we need props. Okay. Like, who has a broken laptop? Oh, that worked surprisingly well.
Yeah.
And so on.
Yeah.
Right. I'll add to that, like, because, and funnily, this relates back to like, things I need to pick up. So I bought a second radio this season. It wandered off, like I loaned it to someone at a game. It may never come back. That's fine. Things are like $60, whatever. I'll live. If I get it back, great. But like I did like having a spare one. Having a spare one was good and useful. So I need to get another spare one. Easy mode, right? That's not hard. Sure, done. That will happen during the winter. If you're playing airsoft and your budget has space for a second radio, boy, do they add a lot of value to like playing as a community and like to the fun people are having and to people's ability to engage with like play in different and more interesting or more nuanced ways. So like there are a bunch of ways to do this, but yeah, at the end of the day, if you go, hey, I want to help with more airsoft stuff, I want to be participant, sick. If you then show up and are like, well, I'm not actually here to like lift and carry, you're not doing the thing, right?
Yeah, I will add as a final point to what you were just saying about the radios and in more general sense is if you want to contribute to the growth of your community, the best way that you can do that is to ensure that everybody who shows up when you play has a great time and wants to come back. Because chances are they have friends who don't know about airsoft, have never played airsoft, but might be interested. Not me specifically. All the people that I know either play airsoft or are not interested in it, and I know enough people.
We have recruited everyone that we can.
Yeah, but chances are, like, if you're a beginner and you check out airsoft and you think you had the raddest day because Pat and Phil were there and they were helping you out and they were being really cool and they gave you a radio so you could have a radio and they let you use their gun and they had a great time and like, man, I want to go back and I'm going to talk to my buddy and my buddy's going to come with me next time. Like, that's the best way for you as an individual to grow the communities, to make sure that you are helping people have the kinds of experiences that keep you coming back, so that they come back too.
And in that context, right, if you're thinking about this, regardless of how new you are to it, lead from the front, right?
Yeah.
If you are playing and you want people to be pushing up, don't stand behind them and yell, push up, move in front of them and say, follow me.
Yeah.
You can motivate people really effectively by doing the thing and then saying, yeah, this away. And that works as much for like, hey, we're having a cleanup day. I'm going to be there. All right, guys, one of the things we need to do is this. Let's go do it and go start, and people will pitch in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's one of those things where think about the kind of leader you want to be in your airsoft community, because that's how this grows, right? Like positivity, making sure people are having fun. This is how we grow the sport, and it's also how you be a good leader in an airsoft context.
Absolutely, couldn't have said it better. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this week. Like I said, we'll hopefully have some things over the holidays, because I know, like, technically the podcast next week is on Christmas Eve, and I don't believe any of you are going to be listening except for Matt the Storm Wizard. And then the week after that, well, no, you're going to be in bed. And then the week after that is on New Year's Eve, which again, none of you will be listening to except for Matt the Storm Wizard.
We love you.
And because Pat will be asleep again. So I don't really know what the release schedule is going to look like for the next couple of weeks, but there's going to be hopefully a couple things. We might rerun some episodes. We'll see what happens. Let us know in the Discord if you have a preference for any particular episodes you'd like us to rerun, so that I don't run the Denison Smock and get roasted again. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been too long since we have Pat. We'll have Pat again. What were you going to say, Pat?
I do have a last thing just because I thought of it, and it definitely is fun. In terms of like growing your airsoft community, 100% let people shoot your grenade launcher at other people or
Oh
into
yeah,
the woods. Um, they are engines that generate glee in airsoft players.
absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Well, so once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And that's all we've got for you this week. And we will talk to you next week, maybe. Until then, see you later.
Thanks so much, guys. We will see you soon, and happy holidays.
Cheers.